Welcome back to the Deep Dive. This is where we look through some really fascinating material, try to find those surprising bits of wisdom that will help you feel truly informed. Today we're kind of taking a journey inward, exploring an idea that might just change how you think about personal growth. We're diving deep into becoming your own safe space. Our mission here for this deep dive is to give you a different lens, really. It's drawn from this insightful collection of wisdom we've been looking at to understand where, true love, real healing, and sustainable growth actually come from.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, it's probably not out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The core insight we're pulling out today is from a text we're calling the Resilient Spirit Compendium. It's this amazing piece of work, blends ancient philosophy with modern psychological research, and it immediately tackles this big modern myth, doesn't it? That love, healing, growth, they're like external things you have to chase, like some big scavenger hunt. But the compendium says, quite profoundly actually, the truest seeking is but a forgetting of what is already known within. So it's a huge shift in perspective. From looking outside to, well, remembering what's inside. It really asks us to rethink our whole relationship with ourselves.
And that's where it gets so compelling, I think.
Yeah.
Because, okay, inner strength isn't exactly a new idea, right? But this Resilient Spirit Compendium, it gives us such specific actionable ways to actually do it, to internalize it. It's not just a nice idea. It's more like a practical method for, daily life.
Yeah.
So you're not just getting quotes here. You're getting something like a roadmap to those real aha moments, the kind that can genuinely change your day-to-day. So are you ready to explore what it really means to build that inner sanctuary? Okay, let's unpack this. All right, first up, self-love. We hear that term constantly. But here's where the Resilient Spirit Compendium pushes back on how we usually think about it. When you hear self-love, what pops into your head? Maybe bubble baths, a nice face mask, journaling with those really pretty pens?
Yeah, the typical stuff.
And look, those things are great. Wonderful self-care rituals, absolutely. They can feel good. But the compendium suggests they often just skim the surface. They're almost like getting validation from the outside rather than digging into the real, sometimes messy, but truly powerful core of self-love. It points to something harder, maybe, but ultimately way more fulfilling.
That's a great way to put it. The compendium's take on authentic self-love isn't so much about pampering. It's more about these deep internal choices we make. It calls it the quiet revolution within, something that happens not in big public displays, but in those really private moments. When you're completely alone with your thoughts, maybe after a setback or feeling some doubt or just, a quiet evening. And that inner critic voice pops up. We all have it whispering, "You're not good enough," or "You blew that one."
Oh, yeah. That voice.
Yeah. Well, true self-love, according to this text, is the conscious, gentle choice to replace that story. It's not about yelling back at the critic. It's more like the compendium describes this practice, the echo of worth. It's this deliberate, kind, internal whisper, just saying, I am learning, I am growing, and I am worthy even right now in this imperfect moment. It's really an act of deep, steady self-tenderness.
That difference is so important because it shifts self-love from just being a concept to something you actually practice every day, moment by moment. The compendium really stresses that this deeper self-love isn't about being perfect. It's fundamentally about having patience and accepting your own process fully. So think about this. How do you really talk to yourself after you mess up? Do you just load on the guilt? Or do you try to offer the same understanding you'd give a friend? Like acknowledging the mistake, but offering compassion.
That's a good question for people to ask themselves.
Yeah. And it's also about letting yourself actually rest without that little nagging voice saying you're lazy, you're not doing enough, and celebrating small wins, like really celebrating them without immediately tacking on, yeah, but I still got so far to go, or, oh, anyone could have done that. It's really about being your own kindest friend, especially when things are tough, not just when they're easy. The compendium argues that this consistent internal kindness is what slowly reshapes your inner world.
And in building on that foundation of self-love, we naturally flow into self-healing, which is another area that's often misunderstood or maybe overly glamorized. What's really striking in the Resilient Spirit Compendium is how raw and honest it is about what healing actually involves. It completely throws out the idea that healing is just a straight line upwards, ending in some big movie moment breakthrough.
Yeah, we all kind of want that, don't we?
We do. But the compendium says healing is not a flawless ascent, but a cyclical journey through the shadowed valleys and sunlit peaks of your own becoming. It really emphasizes that real healing. It's rarely neat and tidy. It's often messy, uncomfortable, and deeply personal.
We definitely crave that big epiphany moment, that Hollywood scene where it all just clicks. But the compendium brings us back to earth. It gives these incredibly relatable examples of what real healing looks like. Sometimes it's just crying your eyes out in the shower, letting yourself feel the full weight of something without judging it. Other times, maybe it's just turning off your phone, saying no to the world's noise because your system just can't take any more input right now.
That's a powerful act of self-care right there.
Totally. And importantly, it often involves forgiving yourself. Not necessarily for something you did, but maybe for putting up with situations or relationships in the past that you didn't deserve, or for choices you made just to survive. It's acknowledging that healing isn't a smooth road. It's about facing the rough edges, the detours, the sometimes painful truths. The compendium calls this the unmasking of the wounds, like honestly facing things to integrate them.
Yes, exactly. And this unmasking, this willingness to sit with the messiness, like you said, that's precisely what leads to real transformation. The compendium uses a really powerful metaphor here. It says, every scar you parry is not a mark of weakness, but a testament to your unyielding strength and resilience. It is a story etched in courage. Every single time you choose to actually process an emotion or a tough experience instead of just pushing it down or pretending it's fine.
Which is so tempting to do.
So tempting. But when you choose to process, you're sending this incredibly powerful message to your whole being, your body, your mind, your soul. You're saying, you are safe with me. I won't abandon you. And doing that consistently builds this amazing sense of internal trust. So healing isn't about trying to erase the past. That's impossible and probably not even helpful. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it's about transforming those experiences, integrating them, learning from them, and basically turning them into this deep source of wisdom and compassion that actually helps you going forward. It's like turning pain into power, really.
That link between healing and gaining wisdom is...
Yeah, that's beautiful. Now, okay, let's shift focus slightly to self-growth. The Resilient Spirit Compendium talks about this in a really gentle but still powerful way, too. It offers some really deep wisdom here that kind of goes against the grain of our modern, always hustle culture. The compendium reminds us growth isn't a race. In fact, it specifically warns that the fastest path to internal depletion is to sprint through your own transformation. So what does that actually mean for us? For our expectations about evolving, which are often pretty unrealistic.
Well, it means slowing down.
Right. It means we need to slow down, be more present, and just learn to observe what's happening.
Absolutely. And the compendium uses this wonderful natural analogy and calls it the rhythms of renewal. Growth, it suggests, happens in seasons, just like in nature. Trees shed their leaves in the fall before they can have new growth in the spring. Well, we also have to sometimes let go of parts of ourselves that don't serve us anymore. Maybe old beliefs, coping mechanisms that are out of date, draining relationships, even versions of ourselves we used to be. And that letting go can really feel like loss sometimes.
Yeah.
It can be painful.
It really can. It can feel like grief. But the compendium offers reassurance here. It says it's not really a loss. It's actually essential. It's making space. Space for expansion, for new growth, for a more authentic version of you to come through. And this brings up a really important question for all of us, doesn't it? In a world that mostly cheers for the big, obvious leaps, how do we even notice this quieter, subtler progress? Especially when it's not some huge announcement or visible win.
Yeah, how do you spot it? And that's where the compendium is so insightful again. It shows these quiet, subtle ways growth shows up, and they feel so real, so connected to everyday life. Like sometimes growth is just finding the internal strengths to say no to something you always used to say yes to, even though it secretly drained you or went against your values.
Setting boundaries.
Exactly. Or maybe it's consciously deciding to step away from a conversation you realize is just pulling your energy down instead of feeling like you have to stay. Or maybe it's even simpler, like waking up one morning with just a tiny bit more clarity or slightly different perspective than you had the day before. The compendium has this lovely analogy, like watching a sunrise. If you stare right at the horizon, you don't notice the sun moving minute by minute.
Right, you don't see the incremental change.
But then you look away, look back after a while, and suddenly the whole world is bright, it's transformed. And that's kind of how growth works. Sometimes it's quiet, it's subtle, but it adds up until suddenly you realize your inner world feels brighter. It's about honoring the whole process, not just waiting for some finish line. So as we kind of weave all these threads together from the Resilient Spirit Compendium, the self-love, the healing, the growth, the text leaves us with this really personal, really pivotal invitation. It asks each of us, straight up, are you willing to become your own safe space? A sanctuary where love, healing, and growth aren't just things you chase outside yourself, but your daily reality, your basic state of being.
And some moments to just pause, maybe, and really consider what saying yes to that might actually mean for you.
And the truly beautiful thing about this invitation, the heart of the compendium's whole compassionate approach, is that it comes loaded with reassurances, with permissions. The text tells us so gently, you don't have to be your best self, your most polished self, your most productive self to be inherently worthy of love. Your worth isn't conditional. Period. That's huge.
It is, and it goes on. You don't need all the answers. You don't need to perfectly understand every old wound to deserve deep internal healing. Just engaging in the process is your right. And finally, you definitely don't have to be at some imaginary finish line of personal development to be incredibly proud of your growth. Every single step, every quiet shift is a victory. This is such a key takeaway for you listening right now. You are allowed, actually you're encouraged to be both a work in progress and a masterpiece. At the same time, unconditionally. There are no entry requirements, no tests to pass before you can start claiming this inner sanctuary.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is just an incredibly freeing thought to hold on to. So to wrap up our deep dive into the Resilient Spirit Compendium, I want to guide you into one last powerful moment of reflection. This comes straight from its closing words. Just take this moment right now while you're listening. Gently place your hand over your heart. Can you feel it beating steadily under your palm? That rhythm, that's undeniable proof of life, isn't it? Proof of incredible resilience. Proof that despite everything you've been through, every challenge, every joy, every struggle, you are still here. Fundamentally, beautifully, undeniably here. And the compendium assures us just being here exactly as you are right now, that is truly, completely enough.
May you really carry that softness for yourself. May you give yourself that deep permission to rest when you need it, to heal in your own time, to rise at your own pace. And may you never, ever forget this profound truth that's woven through the Resilient Spirit Compendium. The home, the sanctuary, the love you've been looking for, it has always, always been right there inside you. It's just waiting for you to remember it, to turn towards it.
So as you move through the rest of your day, maybe just hold this question lightly. What's one small, quiet act of internal kindness you could choose today? Maybe it's just a conscious breath, maybe gently reframing a harsh thought you have about yourself, or maybe just deciding to honor your need for rest without guilt. What small thing can you do today to actively affirm that your truest, most reliable sanctuary is already within you? That's your thought to mull over, maybe to practice, to explore. Until our next deep dive.